Welcome back to another episode of On the Subject. I'm your host, Michael Vilardo, co-founder and CEO, subject.com, and subject.ai. Just launched. Please find us there as well. And we have a very special episode today. This is our first three-person episode. We've never done more than two, and so I have my hands full today, but I'm extremely lucky and indebted to two incredible leaders and incredible educators that have helped so many students with and without subject at Tustin Unified, Diana Gebe and Ali Del Castillo. Thank you so much for joining us on the subject today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that we always love to lead with that subject is gratitude. Thank you, first off, for everything you've done for your students throughout the year. We're so appreciative. We say teachers and coaches are the heroes of society. But what we want to really learn from you is, why do you want to do education? Why do you want to help kids?
Go first. Sure. I was the kid who, when I was in first grade, wanted to pretend to grade papers. Being a teacher was always the job. It was always going to be the career. It was always the passion. So that's where it led me. And here I am 22 years later.
Wow.
Similar to Diana, I would like to line up my stuffed animals and teach them a lesson. But my younger sister has special needs. So initially my goal was to be a special education teacher because I really saw how passionate my mom was about teaching my sister the life skills and the just foundational elements of education and just about being a learner. But once I started going to school and learning, I fell in love with reading and writing and the English language. So then I became a high school English teacher.
I love that. Thank you so much. And, since we have the three-person podcast today, we can actually make it like some of our favorite podcasts where it's a true collaborative conversation. And so, what do we want to see out of education? How do we get education where we want it to be in 2035? It's 2025 already. Isn't that crazy to say out loud?
Yes.
What should education look like in 2035? What would you love to see happen?
I'll let you go first.
I think we are shifting our trend a little bit, really focusing back on the skills-based education piece that I think many of us crave, so that we want to see our students take the skills that they know and apply them to a variety of content areas.
And what does skills-based education mean? For some of our novice listeners out there, what does that mean and what has it traditionally not been in education?
So what it isn't is memorizing dates from a war, reading a novel from front to back and being able to describe a character.
Yeah, I never really used 1984 today.
But if you were to have read 1984,
which I did, sophomore year of high school.
Yep, everyone does. We are very rooted in tradition and education in many ways. But if you were to have read 1984 through a skills-based lens, you would have focused on character analysis. You would have focused on...
I love this.
Yeah, you would have focused on the art of the writing, probably practiced to write the same way that the author did. You probably would have traced the development of the character and really analyzed decision-making and things like that. So really teaching our kids the critical skills that they need to read between the lines and read beyond the lines so that they can apply those skills to their life, whether it's in math and history, the lessons we learn from history.
So focusing on the learning more than necessarily the grading.
Absolutely.
Very much so. And I think to add to that, making it about the kids again, I think, like you said, teachers are so rooted in the tradition and what I've always done, but times aren't what they were. So we need to refocus it on who is sitting in front of us, not who was sitting in front of us 10 years ago, and giving access to all of the kids sitting in front of us. I come from a special ed background, so for me it's important that all kids have access and can succeed and can find the self-confidence to believe in themselves because they can. Now working with credit recovery and initial credit academies, so our newcomers or students who have failed, they all need to have access, they all need to feel that success, and they all need to have the ability to achieve what they truly can, given that where we are now and not, like I said, where we've been.
Well, so let's talk about that. You said 22 years classroom. What do you think the biggest difference is from students? What was that in 2003 when you started? Or 2002?
Yes, 2003.
So 2003. So a student 2003 versus student 2025. What's the biggest difference that you've noticed?
Technology.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's a big, it is a big, there wasn't even the iPhone back then. Uber wasn't around.
There was nothing. I think I probably had a Nokia. And it's now every kid has some sort of a device in their hand. We are a 1-to-1 district. So already kids have a device in their hand, be it an iPad or a Chromebook. They all have cell phones. Many of them have watches, like it's just at their fingertips and that's what they know. 22 years ago, a one-to-one device like that would have just blown everybody's mind. You can have a computer on your desk in a
Like a
classroom.
one computer lab per school back then, and you
Absolutely.
maybe went to it once a
Once a
week.
week.
Yeah.
And so I think our kids have changed, our times have changed, and until we as teachers and educators change with them, we're always going to be behind
I completely
all
agree.
of the trends.
So when we think about education and your incredible lens as educators and also working with other that both are in leadership roles now, how can we better empathize and empower our teachers to be more successful?
We are lucky in that we get to work with both students and teachers and give a ton of professional development. And the teachers that we work with, I mean, teachers everywhere, they were always awesome kids in class. They were always, or maybe it was a kid that wasn't awesome in class and then came back because they wanted to change a trend. But I think the thing that is missing, and if you crack the code, let us know.
Working on it every day. Yeah.
Because we think it's missing with students too, is a little bit of the academic confidence that's missing in students could be lacking in some teachers in terms of professional confidence. We went through school one way and we're recreating that experience, and it's not necessarily benefiting the students in front of us because we're so rooted in the way things were. So I think the thing I would say that we would need is to help teachers build their professional confidence to just try. And it's okay if something doesn't work out. Teach a kid to work through something, teach a kid to like ask questions as to why something didn't work, and don't be afraid to try something new
and be vulnerable themselves. If a teacher is showing vulnerability in who they really, and I don't have all the answers, but we can figure it out together, I think you're going to engage a student and get a student to trust you to also be vulnerable. And
vulnerable and authenticity is so empowering and attractive. And one thing that I always love to learn from incredible educators like yourself is how do we create more of that culture of what you mentioned, like the willingness to make mistake. So much of education, a student fails an exam and they feel like a failure, but if they play a video game and they, miss out on a level, haven't played video games in a long time myself, but they can retry and do it again. And yeah, exactly. And like same with teachers, they get penalized so hard if they make a mistake. How do we switch the flip there and say, we want you to take more risk and we're going to reward you with innovation? Mistakes are okay because they're close to that next step of really changing. That's what we're looking for. How do we reward more innovation in education? What do you think?
allowing kids to take those risks. I have a first grader, and her first grade teacher is all about talking about risk. So now my daughter will come home and be like, guess what I did today? I took a risk. And it's great. Did you fail the first time? Yes, but then I did it again. So I think it's starting it at a young age and letting it be okay. It's okay to fail. What did we learn?
Okay. Yeah. How do you get better?
Right.
I think because as educators, we want everything to be great and perfect, we kind of create a lot of the pressure that we feel ourselves. So the pressure to like make sure our kids pass this class and blah, blah, blah. We invent that a lot of the time. So I think the more and more instructional leaders provide an opportunity and provide a partnership to try something new with a teacher or to reward somebody that is willing to take a risk and share with their fellow colleagues how it went and how it may have floundered or not.
It's okay for it to be messy.
Yeah,
It
it's okay
is.
for it to
It
be messy.
totally is. I love that attitude. And one piece we really love to culminate these podcast episodes with is that gratitude. And we're so thankful to everything you've done in education, but we want to find out what teacher or student would you want to shout out and give thanks to into the camera to end the episode?
Do you have one? I have so many. Like,
It's tough
I
to then nail
know.
down to one.
Yeah,
I
Teacher or
know.
student, whatever's best for you, and give them a shout out and thank them for how they impacted you positively as a person.
This is totally against it, but I don't know that I can give it to anyone. I've learned so much from every single student that I've ever had, and it's just been an honor and a privilege to allow them to trust me. So I think any kid that I've ever had who has trusted me has done it.
I would piggyback off that. Any student I had that had the confidence in me to guide them through whatever they were going through, whether life, an essay, whatever. I'm honored that I got to play a role, and every now and then I get to hear how those kids are doing. It's so great, and I the same way that I hope the kids feel about me, I felt that way about a lot of teachers. So I'm grateful for the people who do give kids an opportunity to be themselves in the space.
Well, that's how you can hear these are educators. Very selfless and humble, and that was really beautiful. I really appreciate how much you've been able to impact people throughout the course of your career. And please like, comment, follow us on Spotify, YouTube. Those are our main channels we're pushing our fans to. So you hear more about incredible educators. This has been such a special episode. The first 3-person episode. We'll look back at this fondly one day. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
you.
We appreciate it.